It is a priceless honor and delight to be able to welcome to our humble ashram one of the great yogacharyas of our age, a true lineage holder of the most ancient yoga, the great Shri Amrit Desai. Welcome, Yogi. For those of you who somehow don't know who Amrit Desai is, this great yogi is the first of those in the wave of yogis who came from India in the 60s. I think in 1960 itself, yes? The first, I think, after Vivekananda in 1893, and perhaps Yogananda for a short time, but the great golden age of American yoga began with the arrival of Shri Amrit Desai. And then there was Swami Satchidananda and Yogi Bhajan and others, but the great following that brought yoga into the mainstream was accomplished by Shri Amritji and the opening of the Kripalu Center and many other centers, and a great deal of dissemination of information about yoga came about through Amrit Desai's great work in the 60s and after. And probably we wouldn't be sitting here in this ashram today if Amrit Desai had not come to America and made yoga such a presence in that land that was still in the dark ages of a materialistic life, and who brought the living truth of the ancient teachings of purity and of the realization of God through meditation to the shores of North America. Shri Amritji has written many books and has done far too many things for me to even attempt to list. It's a book in itself, his CV and his attainments. So I'm sure all of you will get sent a copy of his biography and all of that, so you are able to understand the nature of the greatness of Shri Amritji's achievement as a yogi who has lived and modeled the truth of higher consciousness and the inner teachings of yoga, not the commercialized version that is all too common these days, but the true inner gyana yoga, the yoga of the knowledge of the Supreme Self. And so I would like us to take advantage of Shri Amritji's presence here for 2 days and impose upon him to offer classes tomorrow evening and Tuesday evening, teaching whatever he wishes. And Amritji is also a great kirtan leader, and we will put a harmonium at his disposal if he wishes. But whatever wisdom that you would like to impart, we would be very happy to soak it up and to get whatever benefit we can from your radiant presence.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I would like to turn the floor over to Shri Amritji.
Thank you. I think I have landed into such a beautiful, in the residence of such a great yogi, and I don't mean to say something that people say formality's sake. I truly mean, when I see what I see around here, among you, in the surrounding, I see your presence, who you are. And what you are is revealed by what is around you, what surrounds you. And the way you are, like inviting me to teach or speak, I've not seen that too common. That's the way I am. I'm just like you. Therefore, I recognize that. That's the way I have always been. I had a privilege to read your biography. I just came to know, I just known you within few hours more fully than I saw your website just a little bit. But now, just to find somebody who is so totally dedicated, whose life is just search for the truth, search for who I am, self-discovery process is so relentless that I really relate to you so deeply, connect to you so sincerely. Maybe I'll tell today something about how I started my spiritual journey. I met my Guru, Swami Kripalvananda, at the age of 16. He was initiated by Lord Shiva himself. That sounds a little bit like story, but this is so true, that Lord Shiva himself, he was about to commit a suicide, and he was in Bombay, and at the temple of Mahalakshmi, he was saying last crying, say, "Bas, this is my last day." And incarnation of Shiva had come to save him and knew that this is my disciple. So at that time he was living in Bombay at one of the wealthiest men of Bombay in a big palatial home. So he told my Guru, he says, "My son, it's not good to commit suicide." He denied. So he said, "Let's go and sit at the steps of one of the shops." They sat at the shop, and he said the detail of what he was planning. He said, "This is not the man I should say anything other than the truth." Said, "Come tomorrow at such and such address, and I will see you." My Guru was so totally, he was only 19 at that time. So he was so touched by the radiance and the presence of this master, who had taken the body of a Bengali Guru who was very much in the tradition of the great saints, very highly enlightened master. When he died, he entered the body, he came for him. So this is the Guru that I met at the age of 16, Swami Kripalu. When I heard him teaching the secrets of Bhagavad Gita, before that I knew nothing about scriptures, I knew nothing about religion, but I was always interested in health, in spirituality, but never called it spirituality. So when I heard him, I said, everything I'm trying to achieve through jogging, bicycling, swimming, reading good books, diet, I found it all in one. So this is, when I met him at the age of 16, my parents, my mother, my sister, and her friends, he says, "You have to be very careful of your brother. He might become a Swami." So everybody suspected that such a profound shift in me. So that is when I began my spiritual journey. So my Guru had started, after that lecture he would give for 21 days on Bhagavad Gita, whole town will come, I will be the first one, always there, on time, same place. So everybody was serving him, fanning him, giving him water. I said, I would like to serve him. But in India, they don't respect kids much. They're just like, hey, go away. They don't. So that's how they treat. So I couldn't get any chance. But then, after that, he built a Gaushala, the cow shed in my hometown, and he also built his own meditation building on the same property. So I was so fortunate to be with him very intimately. Then one time I was teaching yoga to young kids. I never learned yoga. In a gymnasium, there was a yoga chart. So I used to go there every morning and learn how to do yoga postures. So I was teaching to my good friends, young friends. My guru was coming down from his meditation room. On the steps, he stopped completely and observed me. He said, tomorrow come in my room, I'll show you something very special that will change everything. So he was at that time, his Kundalini was awakened. And he took me next day. So after he told me, I don't know how I went home, what happened to me, I don't know who I was, almost like in a different altered state. Next morning when I came, just to be such a privilege, after that he said, I have never allowed anyone to be in the room when I did Kundalini meditation because it's such a secret sadhana. So from there on, I became one of the close disciples. He gave Shaktipat, and he had 4 main disciples. I was one of them. But when I came here, I didn't know. I came here as a art student. I'm an artist also. I did artwork in India. I was an art teacher in the high school. But my love was yoga. So I had opportunity to teach in a large gathering in one of the largest hotels because I lived at the International House where all the foreign students will come to study. So that was an occasion where I gave the lecture, demonstrated yoga, played flute, and after yoga, what I taught, the newspaper were just crazy after me. Immediately the yoga started. I was invited to so many lectures, radio shows, classes. So that's how my yoga started. I didn't know that I would be teaching. The guru idea was completely out of picture. So everything developed was just from my real love for practice of yoga, spirituality, and my love for the guru. So that is how I came to America, and I started teaching in 1960. Then I went to India in 1966. My guru gave me Shaktipat, but he didn't tell me. So one morning I was doing regular yoga with my wife and 2 students from my yoga classes. And suddenly something took over me, and there were promptings that were arising from my body which was guiding me to perform postures. That was the strangest experience. Usually your mind tells your body what to do. So in the midst of guiding them into postures, I was going into it, and as I was driven, it was such a deep urge that I couldn't resist it. So while I was going into it, I'm thinking, they might think I'm crazy because I wasn't in the routine. So that is when I had one of the deepest life-transforming experience. I went so deep that my body became so flexible, unusually flexible, that I could be in the positions that I never had performed. Postures were so many different than I had ever seen. Some of them were familiar, but the flexibility was so deep, and I was so relaxed at the same time, I went into the deeper flow. So that is where my new understanding of yoga came from. So after that, when I read Patanjali Yoga Sutras and Bhagavad Gita, I read before, but as if I never read it. I saw totally different meaning in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, out of which I created the whole new system of yoga. I call it meditation in motion. Because Patanjali's fundamental teaching is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means witnessing the modifications of mind. And then later on he talks about 8-limbed yoga. He's talking about 8 limbs. He doesn't say 8 steps. Patanjali is very, very precise in every little word he says. When he said 8 steps, he meant that it cannot be practiced one step at a time. So limbs are holistic practice. So, and then he showed that holistic practice means whenever you practice yoga or any step of the yoga that has a major emphasis, meditation must be the major component. So that is why he said, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means witnessing modifications of mind, because that's the only obstacle in the entire practice of yoga, mind. That's it. So, great sage Meher Baba, enlightened master of India, he said, man minus mind equals God. That's simple. So everything in yoga is witnessing the modifications of mind, because you are not whatever your mind says about you, other, or the world. And if you don't do that, there is no integration. There is no restoring the balance, harmony, and oneness. It is impossible. So when I started seeing that, my practice was, after having that experience, I went into such deep ecstasy. I was naturally drawn into alpha and deeper brain waves. Means I was in meditation, all these movements were happening. So then, that is why the new yoga approach that I developed, Kripalu Yoga and now Amrit Yoga, I call it meditation in motion. So how to do the inner dimension of yoga, and that is what Patanjali says in the first sutra. He says, now the discipline of yoga. Patanjali doesn't use the word now, so let's now get started. He doesn't say it now. Means the practice of yoga is entering the experience of now. That is the discipline. How to be in the present moment. That is the discipline of yoga. So that is the first sloka. So my whole practice is about how to step out of the linear dimension of time through the medium of the mind into the timeless dimension of the presence that I am. That's all yoga is about, and that is what life is about. That is why everything that I live for, that I teach, is about how to return to the presence that I am. And that is non-mental. So the yoga practice is very, very important. And then very precisely, you have to learn how to move into the spirit that is the connection to the soul. So tonight, I don't think we'll go too much in detail, but just to give you idea as to where my practice comes from. When I read your life, I was so deeply touched. Just now I was reading how many different ways you have studied. By the way, I haven't studied any psychology, philosophy, scripture study, psychology study, how to expand business, how to give lectures, how to be a teacher, nothing. Everything happened. When I came here, only one person knew in the whole of America. So, and that was also friend of friend. And I came as a high school graduate. Hardly anybody comes here as a high school graduate, because then you have to take full-time, full course, full-time, daytime college. You cannot do evening college and then do the job also. It is impossible. So I went through amazing changes in my life while I was here in America. But everything just, I practiced yoga all along the way, yogic lifestyle and meditative way of living, which allowed me to go through all the difficult situations, but I never saw it as difficulty. Right now I can see how many people go through difficulties when they don't find the job, because if you are coming from a foreign country, I wasn't allowed to do any job. And so I wasn't allowed to do any job outside, but on the campus you can do job. So and it was a very small campus, Philadelphia College of Art. So only job I found was washing dishes. So when I washed dishes, I got 1 meal free, but I couldn't afford breakfast or dinner. So it was a wonderful time. And then when I was very young, I was very mischievous and very playful. So my mother used to tell me, she says, nobody will even hire you to wash dishes in a restaurant, because that is the lowest job you can find in India. But then I wrote her a letter, I found the job and I'm working in it. So there is a very wonderful life that I have lived. So I come from such a simple lifestyle. From my birth to my age 10, I lived in such a simple life where there was no running water, there was no electricity, there was no radio, there was no television, and I went to school, and my father had this very small shop in a very small village, a pottery village, people, potters, and small farmers. So we are the only two shops, and everybody else was from the lower class, so I never got to play with kids. I had 2 toys in my whole life that I played with. One was a big top, and another was a tricycle. I don't know where they got it, but that was an unusual kind of a toy. And when I went to school, I went with the kids almost 2 miles away, and it was 1-room class, and in that 5 standards sat. All 5 grades sat in 1 room and 1 teacher. So you can see how simple. I had the childhood impressions were not there. All the kind of, most of our character is built in childhood. So I was so fortunate to be raised in such a simple lifestyle. And I can see the programming happens so heavily. So this is all a miracle in my life. Everything that has happened, when I see in the background, I see nothing that I did, because everything was totally unpredictable and totally unthought of, unplanned. So it is a continuous manifestations of miracle after miracle. And this one, to me again, is a miracle, because one day I was standing in the office just about 3 weeks ago, and I said, because I love nature so much, and I had been to Costa Rica. I had taught in Pura Vida, in that center. One time I was invited to teach. So I was there, so I loved this. I was on the boat, what they call the cruise, where there is, and then it's on what is that big tube-like thing? Rafting, that's where. We went rafting. And we were in a boat at that time, and we were several students from my class, and we were, that day, the rain, very heavy rain must have come, so regular, ordinary river that was for us became very, very, very heavy flow. So we were in the eddy, and one of the girls who was sitting next to me fell out. I immediately grabbed her, and her life was saved. So that was like, these are the memories of Costa Rica. So I said, I want to go back there. And there was, usually I do not go anywhere. I have never gone on a tour anywhere. This is the first time I came that way to Costa Rica. And then Kanu, his disciple from many years, so they called right away to Kanu. He says, Gurudev would like to go to Costa Rica. So because he's familiar, and he was going to be here. And then he told about you. I said, oh, I'd love to go and meet. So I looked at your website and I was so touched. I'm so glad I'm here. And I'm here among you because I feel it reminds me of the disciples here. They're so loving and so caring. And it feels like I've come home. That's how it feels. Because that's how, this is how my ashram is like. We have about 35 who live in the ashram also.
Wonderful. Well, it is a joy to have you home.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope you know that you're welcome
Yes.
to stay as long as you wish.
Yes,
And
thank you.
it's great. Can I ask you a few questions about
Yes, of
what you
course.
said, Shri Amritji? Because when most people interpret Patanjali's Chittavritti, Nirodha, they interpret it as cessation of the vrittis of the mind.
Right.
And you have made it into witnessing.
Right.
And I wonder why you've interpreted it that way. And
Cessation is something that happens somewhere in the end. But for practice, he would not suggest that in the beginning define yoga practice as a cessation. Cessation is the end result. Modification, witnessing modifications is the entry. So if you translate as cessation, it's impossible to even practice.
But at least you know what the goal is then.
Yes, it is cessation.
How would you compare your approach to that of Sri Ramana Maharshi, who's one of our patron sages here,
Yes.
whose approach is that of Atma Vichara?
Right.
So how would you compare that with Patanjali and your
Right.
approach?
See, the only impediment in knowing who I am is who I am not. And everything that I think about myself, about the other, or the world, I am not. So, what are the thoughts about? They are all about who I am not. Therefore, when you witness them, by and by you disassociate from all the conditioned past, the karmic memories, reactively processed memories. When you face reality, when you reactively process what you experience, then it becomes karmic memories. So they are incomplete gestalt of living in the present. When I'm not fully present, just the way I see, interpret, and judge reality, that remains as a debt against the reality. So that is what remains as a memories, to-do list in future, to complete it. But it is reactively processed memories. So those memories are all about not what happened, but how I perceived it happen, reactively. So reactive perceiver is seeing what is in it for me or against me. When he sees it that way, he interprets the objects of perception as the medium through which happiness or unhappiness came, which is misperceived idea, because reactive perceiver is superimposing all his expectations over the object and expects it to come from it. And that is the separation between me and the other, me and myself, which is one and the same. Yes. So I think this is meditation, witnessing the presence, witnessing the modifications of the mind, is letting go of who I am not.
So in addition to witnessing, would you say disidentification?
That is
from,
the disadvantage, yeah.
Okay.
Witness means I do not identify with my karmic memories that come through the medium of the mind, thoughts, emotions about myself, other, or the world.
Wonderful. And when you have disidentified from this mind and reached that cessation, what is the realization that comes?
Realization is that progressively you are disengaged from the memory body, which is called the persona, the mask. The mask is layers are removed more and more. The layers around the consciousness, the light shines brighter with each layer being removed. So as you begin to know who you are, the layers sometimes many layers get lifted so suddenly. So, but it happens progressively sometimes suddenly. Sometimes there is quantum shift and realizations happen. So for me, when I had this experience, there was a tremendous breakthrough that happened because I saw what was getting done through me. I wasn't the doer, neither was I the achiever. It was the direct manifestation of the Shakti that was removing all the psychic and bodily felt blockages. So it was the direct connection of the soul manifesting through the prana Shakti, releasing all these energies. And when Kundalini guides your movements, your energetic internal movements, you can see how Kundalini knows how to arrange a particular breath work, locks, and movements to target that particular energy block and release it. And it is so precise that you can watch it, actually. So it was the miracle to come through that direct realization that I am not the doer through the Kundalini Yoga also.
Would you say that the blocks are the results of negative thoughts?
Yes, that is and negative thoughts and all thoughts, positive thoughts and negative thoughts are not separate. Like as soon as you think positive, it comes from the negative. Otherwise, there will be no positive without the negative.
You are right.
So it comes like a one coin. If you are trying to be positive, where are you coming from? From negative.
Yes.
So this is why in the West, not in general, it is changing now, but there was like power of positive thinking. But they do not know that there is more than the mind. Mind can think positive and it can be useful to a certain stage, but you cannot build your tent there. You have to use it as a step to go beyond it.
Yeah.
So,
What would you say is the relationship of Patanjali's method of yoga and the Shaivite yoga, say of Kashmir?
I don't see much difference. I don't see much difference. Because they are saying in a different languages, sometimes here and there, but they are all about meditation. This is what is Shaivite yoga is about Tantra yoga. Tantra yoga is Kundalini yoga, Siddha yoga, Sahaj yoga, they're different names to me. Yes. And so Kundalini, my guru meditated 3 times a day, every day, for 35 years. And 10 hours a day, but it wasn't like trying to sit silently. Kundalini will do what happened to me, spontaneous kriyas, everything guided by the prana, and the mind is just witnessing the movements. So that Kundalini is, so my guru's body, I didn't go that deep as my guru. So his body performed hundreds of yoga postures, hundreds, and they're all photographed. So, like most people do not know what is the origin of yoga. he, after probably centuries, he was the first yogi that revealed what is the source of yoga, hatha yoga even. Where did these asanas come from? Just like Vyasa received all the teachings directly, he received all the postures directly too. Just like some people do automatic writing, he did automatic postures. So that is the way Kundalini did. But it had to be, he was given the secrets by Lord Shiva himself. So he is considered to be the Lord Lakulish, 20th incarnation of Lord Shiva. Himself came, and one time during the training, he stayed in Bombay for a year and a quarter with his guru. His guru would know everybody's name and talk in their language because he was a big businessman. People came from all around India with different languages that knew him. So at that time, my guru asked him, "How old are you?" He said, 2.5 or something, year and a half or something like that. He says, "You are kidding. You're joking with me." He says, "One day you will find out." So then he was in Rishikesh, and one day he was cutting the branch of bubble tree for toothbrush, and he heard a voice. He says, "Swami," because he used to call him Swami. So he turned around, there was his guru in a divine body. So, but very real. So he knew that time it was revealed that it was Lord Shiva himself had come to train him and gave him the secrets of yoga. And he gave him the secret of how to receive the divine body. So there are very few yogis in India have reached that. Gnaneshwar is the one who received that. The Hare Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received that body. Several, 2-3 other yogis, he told me, has gone to that level. Babaji, the Paramhamsa Yogananda's great guru, Babaji, he received it. So it looks like my guru and their tradition is all in Bengalis. So there must be some connection because he came in the Bengalis guru's body to teach my guru. And there are stories that is so amazing. But my guru, his guru told him, he says, "Don't talk about me, don't go to this businessman again, ever. Don't talk about it, don't tell anything about him until you reach Samadhi." So my guru never told us these stories about his Shiva and all these things, nothing. And I invited him to come to America because I had a very large yoga centers, 2 big ashrams, but he won't come. He says, because if I come before I'm established in Samadhi, it can be very disturbing to my sadhana. So then when he reached to that stage, he came to America. But he said that before I come, I have to tell you very clearly that if I say I want to come back to India, you should not cry and force me to stay. Because you see, if I cry, he would stay, but it won't work. So he really made it very clear. But when he came, at that time, I had 2 ashrams, Samni Town Ashram, where I had about 70 disciples lived there, and that was a program center. Then I had another 280-acre property where I had another bigger ashram because everywhere I went, people wanted to follow me and come and spend, be it in a more in-depth sadhana. There I had 150 residents who were doing sadhana with me. So that is when he came. Then he was so touched by the devotion and the love. He found it so ideal for his sadhana. He stayed with us for 4.25 years instead of 4 months.
I'm going to cry and see if you'll stay with us for that long. Let's see if it works. I'm sure I can do it. Guruji, would you say that the love of Lord Shiva is enough of a sadhana to reach that samadhi?
It is not Lord Shiva, but love itself is enough. It could be to your Guru, to God, Lord Shiva, or Shakti, it doesn't matter. But love itself is the most important part to me. Yes.
Is the ego capable of love? How do we find that love that is real?
See, there is no way to love because it is curtailed by ego mind. Because we are looking for pleasure and intimacy that comes through the pleasure, particularly sexual union, that gives a sense of real love, because that's where the wall that separates me from the other disappears. So it is such a experiential union that we want to return back to where we have been before. And we have been born in the animal body, human mind, and a divine potential. So we have evolved from the subconscious animal body into self-conscious ego mind with a divine potential. But ego mind, we are born identified with it. Therefore, tomorrow I'll bring that much clearly. I have discovered some of the secrets that are not really, I haven't read somewhere with that clarity. That that is, I don't know if we have too much time.
No, I look forward to tomorrow's class then. And
Yes.
we'll go into it in more depth.
And I want to
there.
bring that out because I have a really connection. I feel that connection already with you. That I wanted to, you would because you are following these teachings. The Advaita must go through the polarity stage. And Jnana Yoga usually tries to go to oneness directly. And we have to go through the polarity to unity. Because polarity is active unity. Unity is passive polarity. And that is explained in scriptures in India. It is called Ardha Narishwar Shiva. Shiva is half male, half female.
Yes.
When it manifests in the body, it becomes separate male and female. So in animals, male and female are not I am male, I am female, because they don't have sense of I am. But human beings are born, I am male, I am female. And that separation is what is looking for unification back. But that is not outside unification, it's inside unification of male and female.
Yes.
And that is what I teach. Because inside is for both male and female.
Yes.
But we look for, because we come from the subconscious unity, we know that is very important for us. And so we know what we are looking for, because in a deep consciousness, we are always looking for that oneness, but we end up with pleasure. That gives a sense of oneness temporarily, but that's a pseudo
Followed
oneness.
by remorse and suffering and the other side of the
Pleasure
polarity.
comes with pain. I mean, you can't avoid it.
I think everyone here has learned that one. That's why they're here. Actually. What is the ultimate relationship of Lord Shiva to the cosmos?
As I see it, in yogic scriptures, it is said Brahman is oneness, that is formless, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent presence. And that can be compared to the space, because space has no limit. How many galaxies we have found? One star, light takes here several thousand years for light to come here on the earth. So there is beyond. But the yogis, they understood this. So Brahma's eyes, and then it opens, and they explain amazing things, like how this universe works. I haven't studied it, but I'm amazed at whatever they have said in such a short time. So Shiva is more like a, we can say, consciousness within human beings. Tomorrow I will explain that cosmic I am is perceived to be Shiva in the way I teach. Cosmic I am, we call God the Father. When cosmic I am descends into each human being, he comes in as individual I am, Son of God. And Son of God within each one of us is inborn within us through the first breath in. And the breath is subconscious. But superconscious I am remains within us as a formless, invisible potential, but becomes visible when it manifests in the body through the autonomic nervous system, Ida and Pingala Nadi. So these are the two rivers of, or two banks of river, of consciousness. So the polarity is the medium through which the river of consciousness flows. So they are the two banks. So when we human beings, when we live too much on one bank heavily, the other bank disappears. Therefore, the river of consciousness becomes the swamp. It cannot flow. So polarity is the how to bring balance of expressions in all areas, tension and relaxation, expansion and contraction, day and night. All these are the polarities. So how to live in the polarity, that is the active unity. So that is, most people do not, so duality lives in perpetual reaction to who or what is present. That's duality. That is memory body of the karmic past. So consciousness, we convert the duality into polarity, means we live in response to who or what is present. As long as I think it is for me or against me, I'm going to be in reaction. But when I'm witnessing presence, I can be in response. Response is neither for me or against me. So that's a polarity dimension that we can practice in life. So that's, I call meditation in motion also.
Wonderful. And when the me falls away, then so does polarity. Then.
So does, yes.
No object.
There is the objectless awareness begins to develop by living that way, and then suddenly you are not doing to get there, it happens.
Yes.
But you have to go through that. For something just breaks that little wire that disconnects us, and we get connected.
What is it, do you think, that enables us to break through?
That is unpredictable, really, because when you do this clearing the layers of unconsciousness, karmic body, somewhere it happens as a quantum shift, which is not predictable. It's not done by the people, like for Buddha sitting on that tree. For different masters, just little thing, and they got enlightened. So it is totally unpredictable, I would say.
But it's about vairagya. Yes?
Vairagya, yes. From vairagya, by and by, you are letting go of the mind. Mind and goal orientation go together. So that is why Patanjali says, abhyasa and vairagya. That is the most important part. So abhyasa happens in polarity and vairagya. And it cannot happen in unity. It is active meditation. Yes, that's how I see it.
But then it is a realization of a unity that was already there, but that we didn't see, yes?
Right, right.
So the individual I am ultimately is one with the cosmic I am.
Exactly, exactly. So God is within us.
Yes. And would you say that the Buddhist formula is accurate, that nirvana is samsara, the consciousness contains and is the universe, and there is no duality of the two?
See, I haven't studied that so thoroughly.
But would you say that all of this is manifestation of Shiva?
Yes, this is all the manifestation of Shiva and Shakti, not Shiva himself.
Yes.
Without Shiva is unmanifest, formless unity.
Yes.
And manifest is the consciousness and energy together.
Yes.
So like mineral life, plant life, animal life, and human life. The energy is always there, but consciousness is growing more from mineral life to plant life to animal life. And then in human being, consciousness comes in full blown where I am. That's not there in any other layer of development.
I'm sorry for everyone that I'm hogging Sri Amritji, and I know you all have probably better questions than I have, but tomorrow night we'll open the floor and everyone will be able to ask questions. I have one more question for you tonight because I can't wait to ask you, and that is, do you feel that we are on the brink of a new age at this point?
Oh, it is very clear.
Yes.
I feel like it is happening all over. The kind of books that are coming up, kind of articles that are coming up, kind of interest that people are having. And it is also indicated by what is happening in an opposite direction too. So they come that way.
Yes, that's a polarity, isn't it?
Polarity, and if the enlightenment begins to come more, it will be more from the West now. Because they have explored the end of all the prosperity and what it can bring. That is why so many people are now so disabled and frustrated and insecure and committing suicide and more happening.
Yes.
And that's a sign that enlightenment is coming.
Yes, I agree.
Because that's only time. See, most people do not know that pain is a very integral part of evolution.
Indeed. It's the path most people choose.
Right. Most people choose, yes. You don't have to, but that's what happens.
So let me ask you this. You spoke about your beginnings of life in a small village without electricity or any of the utensils of modern civilization. I believe we are soon going to be again without electricity and off-grid and ending up as you started because I see civilization collapsing.
Right.
And that we will have to get used to living again in harmony with nature,
Nature,
and
yes.
sustaining ourselves, growing our own food and doing those things. Do you feel that this is coming?
Oh, but not expect that, not think about it, because
Not
when
prepare
it happens,
for it?
it happens.
You don't think
Otherwise-
preparing for it, or will some people be called by Shiva to prepare for this?
Oh, there's some people who think that it is sure to happen, but I just wait. When it happens, we'll do it.
Okay, very good. I agree. If it is the will of God, we'll do
Otherwise,
that.
many people are so upset with Trump, you know, because he is that kind of a person who can invite that destruction.
Indeed.
Because he's so emotional and he's so separative that he could be successful in business, but not in the country. You know, when it comes to like being so frustrated with all these Muslim things that are coming and all this. So one has to be very balanced, very balanced in that position.
Yes. Well, I'm very happy that Shiva has brought a great light like yourself into the world to be the counter polarity to Trump. and to bring such wisdom and such stability.
Yes, I think everything happens in order.
Yes.
Like you can think whatever you want to think, but then even Trump being elected is the conditions for what is meant to happen by the universal laws is a karmic river has been guiding everybody that way. It is not any one person's doing. No matter what you think, it's already in the big flood of river moving that way. So you cannot prepare for what you don't know what is going to happen. So Trump might be even better than the usual person, who knows? Because he might see it better once he sees it, because he would have advisors, he would have public opinion, so he might be better. So we don't know.
Fortunately, I know that Lord Shiva will trump Trump. So God's will be victorious.
Yes.
And it's a great omen that you are here, that God's will is very active.
It's very active, you can see.
So thank you very much again,
very
Shri Amritji, for gracing us with your presence and your wisdom. And I would again invite you to teach tomorrow evening and again the next evening, and we can perhaps have another dialogue, but include
That'd
the
be
sangha.
wonderful.
And, so,
And I have developed something, I would say, something that was missing somewhere. Like that active unity. That some people do not know that unity could be active. Means you do not go to the formless I am. Before you go to formless I am, you have to go through the active unity called polarity. Polarity is co-creative unity
yes.
of Shiva and Shakti. Yes. That's something that I received in my meditations. So I've been writing more and more about it. So non-dualists do not go through this. But then some of them, they explain it very clearly. But for me, to practice non-dualistic behavior or a life in life, you have to go through polarity to move toward the unity.
Yes, I agree. I think your teachings are very congruent with Sat Yoga.
Oh, good.
So I look forward to our private meeting tomorrow and
Me too.
going much more deeply into these
Good.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amritji.
Thank you for inviting me, and you have such beautiful, you have created such a beautiful, I was telling, what is your name?
Mahalakshmi.
Mahalakshmi. That's a beautiful name. And when I heard your name, I said, oh my God, I haven't heard such name. Shunyamurti, I mean, that's the most beautiful. That says everything. Everything.
It says nothing, actually. But
That's what I mean. Everything about what the life is about and what is the ultimate teachings. Yes. So I'm so touched by everything. Just like such a glorious ashram. When I entered this building, I said, how did this happen?
I ask myself the same thing.
That's what happens when people come to my ashram. They said, how did you get this place? I said, it was meant for me. And it is. Same thing happens.
Yes, we're very fortunate. Lord Shiva has sent very, very beautiful souls
This is
here.
the most beautiful place on heaven. It's like heaven on earth.
I agree
And
with
it's
you.
such beautiful heart that you bring, an energy field. Could be nothing better than that. So they are so fortunate to be in this space in your company.
I feel fortunate to have you in our company and to be such a great light to the world. I think Vatsala is here from India. Vatsala is from the same area, yes, of India, as Amritji?
Where are you from?
मैं बड़ौदा से हूँ, लेकिन बड़ौदा
Baroda?
बड़ौदा
Oh, I'm from Halol.
हेलो
Yeah, 25 miles from Baroda.
I thought there's no accident here.
मेरे पिताजी जो है ना वो महाराष्ट्र में आ गए तो हम अभी महाराष्ट्रियन बन गए तो मराठी बात करते हैं गुजराती थोड़ा भूल गए तो हिंदी में बात करते हैं
I'll see you tomorrow.
So, Shiva has prepared someone from Bharat for you to feel at home also.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank everyone for your participation and for creating such a beautiful energy field to greet Shri Amritji. And prepare some very difficult questions for him, okay, for tomorrow.
Yes.
Just kidding. But he can answer anything, I see that. So it's very beautiful just to have your presence here, your radiance, your light, your joy. It's very contagious. So everyone will be benefiting from your visit. Okay. Thank you all for being participants in this beautiful meeting of souls who are invoking Lord Shiva in our presence and transforming to be in attunement with that great supreme essence of divine love. So for this evening, namaste.
Namaste.